verifiable story of a Sasquatch hurting or killing anybody. So, and I remind him of that, and he goes, "Oh, okay." But he was pretty lit up that night. It was a typical Bobo.
That's hilarious.
Imagine him taking out an aluminum folding beach chair out in the middle of a woods. There's woods surrounding this a pasture isn't right, but like a
meadow.
Like a meadow. Yeah, thank you. Yeah. Perfect. And he sits out in the middle of that and just waiting. And he says, "They're all around me. I forgot if they're toying with him or something," but he was pretty shook up. And I'm 45 minutes to an hour away. By the time I get there, maybe I'll find some evidence of somebody being there.
Yeah. I can visualize that because he always wears flip flops. It's mismatching flip flops.
Mismatching flip flops. Yep.
Yeah, and he had a peanut butter jelly sandwich. That was a staple.
Yep. And he had Monkey with him.
Yeah.
I think it was Monkey because it was 2000. Yeah, he had Monkey then.
Yeah.
And Monkey freaked out. He told me that, "Damn, my dog's freaked out. He never does that." Like that. So whatever it was scared the hell out of him. That's for sure.
Yeah. That sounds like a Bobo-esque story.
Yeah, he's a glutton for punishment. He'll go back over and over again just for the encounters of it. So that's he
had that old beat up red Toyota, I guess. I don't know. It was just beat the hell. We used to strap the speaker up on top. It was right out of Blues Brothers, man.
Yeah.
Got that speaker up on top, and he'd go through the woods making the calls, and then as we went further and further, we've done different things, and just to see what works and what doesn't. And I don't know what does or doesn't. But we did that where we'd send a person out with the speaker system 10 miles, 15 miles out and do calls every quarter mile coming back into base camp. And we tried to get that going out in as many directions as we could, thinking that maybe we'll draw something back to the base camp.
Mm-hmm.
Don't know if it worked. We have no idea. There's
that was before.
What's that?
I was saying that was before thermals, so you can actually see something out there.
Yeah, they had thermals, but they were really expensive and hardly anybody had them.
Yeah.
And they required a lot of electricity to run back then. But we did have night vision, and throughout it all, it's kind of I've done different things with the speaker. I've done from opera music to calls to, and personally, I don't think it matters. Mm-hmm. I think the thing that matters is the noise itself, and that will bring whatever closer to investigate. There's a lot of people calling now, I guess. I'm not as active as I once was, but I was out a couple of times last winter, or just a few months ago, up in Washington, Oregon, and then Northern California too. And you'll do 1,000 calls and have absolutely nothing.
Yeah.
Then all of a sudden you get something, and whatever it is. Was on Finding Bigfoot, and Bobo had me come in with him, and was doing some call blasting, and actually had a return call.
Was this the one like a couple of years ago?
Yeah, the 99th.
The 99th.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I didn't see it on TV, so I don't know if they even played that or they were able even to pick it up. But
I don't know. I thought you guys did hear something. I think.
Yeah.
I can't remember.
Yeah,
I watched. Yeah.
Yeah, it was just like the Ohio Howl. Exactly. And Could it have been somebody else doing it? Who knows?
Mm.
You know, it could have been, or it could have been something that is undiscovered, or it might be some animal that we didn't know could vocalize. Like who knows? Till we find
So
one.
yeah, real quickly going to the Finding Bigfoot episode with you and Bobo. It shows you and Bobo with that shot in front of. Is it your trailer? I think.
Yeah, that's what I'm in right now.
So yeah, okay. It had you. You were already in like a lawn chair. Throw it back to Bobo going to the lawn chairs
Yeah,
again. You guys are in lawn chairs, and it shows this giant parabolic dish.
yeah.
And
That
a few like a day earlier, Robert, me, I think like Jamie, Wayne, and Steve, or not Steven, but Rowdy. No, it wasn't Rowdy. Kip was there, but we were all painting it and everything.
yeah, yeah. So here I'm the one who was supposed to. This was kind of all thrown on me when I got there, which kind of pissed me off a little bit about it. I don't like that. I don't like surprises. And they said, "Oh yeah, well this is something that you put together." Blah blah blah. I'm going, "Fuck, man, what the hell?" You know. So I wasn't into that. Great idea, but it didn't work.
Yeah.
It was a great idea, and I think I'm looking at it, and I can understand parabolics, and you know I'm a certified solar guy and all that, so I can look at parabolic and see if it's accurate, especially for sound. It's the same as light. So I looked at it and I'm thinking it's a great idea, but it's not going to work. The mic was not far enough out, but it doesn't matter. It wasn't my gig. I thought it was a great idea, though. I think that something like that could be really nice out in the field, but it's huge.
Yeah, it's a monster of a parabolic.
Yeah, exactly. But there was a call that came back that that I heard and Bobo heard, and it was pretty exciting because again, you don't. I mean, uh, it's not like magic, you know, that you call blast and all of a sudden you get something. You might
No.
go a full year or two before you hear anything back, and then is it really a Sasquatch or is it something else? One thing I noticed with the calls is the angry gorilla. When I played that out in the woods, the angry gorilla would actually get things moving out there. I would hear
Really?
a lot of movement out there. And the other calls, not so much. The angry gorilla was pretty interesting, and it seemed like if anything would attract something, might not be a good thing, would be that. And it seems to me that it attracts rogue bears.
Really?
Yeah. Now I've had a couple of experiences with that, and was it directly related to that, or was I in their area or blocking them from water or food? I don't know.
Yeah.
But that's happened a couple of times where this one that I didn't see actually let out a big, absolute horrendous growl and ran. It was running. Whether it was running away from me or to me, I don't know. But the ground was shaking. I could feel his footfalls in the ground. Was pretty.
This is a bear?
I didn't see it. Did not see it. It was up at Bear Basin. There is a lot of bear up there.
But something really big and heavy.
Hell yeah. And I had horses. I had draft horses. And it was like them running on the ground. And they're, 2,000 pounds.
Whew.
So that, and when that happened, so I'm at a place called Bear Basin down at a pond, a small water hole, I should say, probably 20 foot across, 10 foot, something like that. Out in the middle, big of meadow is the corner of it, and you can park a car, your camper right there. So I pulled in there. That's where I'm going to spend the night. I have this lady from, I forgot her name. I want to say Susan. She was deaf, but she was in the Bigfoot. So she's unloading the car, looking around. She's walking around, and I hear this huge growl, just a real angry kind of vocalization. What it was from, I believe it was a bear. Don't know for sure. And I'm looking at it. I got my gun out right now. I mean, but trust me, a 357 Magnum is not really a match for a bear, too.
Yeah.
It'll scare them off and maybe slow them down a little bit, but it's not. It's pretty hard to kill a bear with the 357 unless you get a good shot.
Oh yeah.
But head on, it's pretty difficult. But I hear this growl, and she's walking up toward that way, which is a small trail that goes to a whole band of trees, and you just can't see past it. But this trail is meandering through it. But this noise came from up that way. And she's walking when that growls out, and then it's running. And I guess she felt the vibration too, because she turned around and looked at me in terror. And I'm yelling at her prior to this, but of course she can't hear me.
Oh yeah, that's right.
But I guess she felt the vibration where she turned around, and obviously she was scared. And I motioned to get her back, and she saw the gun in my hand, so she knew that something was going on that she probably wouldn't want to be around.
No.
So, but when that happened, that was it. Nothing more. And that was right after I did the angry gorilla, or shortly after I did the angry gorilla call. So was it related or not? I don't know, but it seems that every time I do that particular call, I get action. I get some movement out in the woods. But I've done calls, the Ohio howl, and an owl would answer me every time. Every time I shoot it off, it would woo like that. And
Yeah, like a barn owl.
probably. I don't know. It kind of sounded like that, but an owl would come back and answer that return. So there you go. You don't know what it is.
That's pretty interesting stuff. I kind of want to try that angry gorilla thing now.
Yeah, the angry gorilla. And actually, the angry gorilla it'd probably be really interesting down there in Florida. You'd probably get a lot more activity than I get up here, even.
What part of you're in California, right?
Yeah, this was up in Northern California, right as a bird flies 20 miles, 15 miles from Bluff Creek.
Okay, so relatively close.
Yeah, relatively close. In fact, this Bluff Creek is in Del Norte County,
Yeah.
not in Humboldt.
Yeah.
Correct. Yeah.
And that's where the film. Hey, there you are. That's where the film is from. Did we lose?
Robert joined back. Yep.
Okay.
Yeah. You kind of lost me because I'm kind of in my it's part of that thing. Every once in a while it goes out, so I go outside and I wait, and then you come back, and then I come back in here hoping they don't lose it again. So I missed the first part of that, but it sounds like on the calls. So, what would you say the best call, the best product you got, the best results?
I think, well, like I was telling Tate, I believe anything will work. The angry gorilla of the 4 or 5 different calls that I have specifically for that, the angry gorilla is probably the one that gets the most reaction. Whether it's Sasquatch or not, I don't know. It seems to wake up the most. The howl is the one I like the most, though.
Yeah,
because the howl is what I heard prior to our Bobo and my event, and then Bobo's event after that up there in Johnson. And I've heard that before. There at Willow Creek, I heard it, and there was one other place I heard it too. That and you don't hardly ever hear that particular call. Have you ever heard it, Robert?
Yes.
Yeah.
I'd say
And
that the similarities to the Ohio
Where, so where
scream.
did you hear it? Where did you hear it at?
The Bluff area.
Yeah. So I've done a lot of calls up there in Bluff Creek, from Fish Camp, the top up there, is it Fit and then Fish Lake, right?
Fish Lake is like
Fish-
closer to 96.
Yeah,
It's
Right,
far-
really-
Fish Lake, and then
It's farther downstream.
and then
Yeah.
Onion Meadow
You
or
got-
whatever. I've done calls up all in there.
Onion
What was that?
Yeah, that place is pretty. That place is really quiet. We've heard some strange things, but I didn't hear any Ohio type calls around
Yeah.
Onion Lake, Onion Mountain.
So,
Yeah.
so
Yeah, well,
the heavy places that I've been at, that I've worked at a lot, is from Bear Basin. You know where that's at? Off of 199.
yes, farther.
Bear Basin, Bear
Mhm.
Basin. There's the Bear Basin Lookout, all the way up to Sanger Lake.
Yeah, it's got fire
and then, and then from Sanger Lake and Johnson Valley, I think it is. Is it
Mhm.
Johnson Valley? I think it's Johnson Valley down there near the south, I think, of Sanger Lake. Anyway, that
Yeah.
all the way over to Oregon, Oric area, all the coast, all the way down to
Yeah.
shit.
South of French Ridge, right?
Yeah, I'm just the whole area. I've done this whole area, and the
Yeah.
spots that I've got return calls is Johnson, Bald Hills, Johnson, that area. That's why I always keep on going back there, because I just call it intuition or whatever. It feels right. It
Well,
feels
just
like,
I'm just going to describe the area real quick. Is you have the Klamath River that goes to the ocean. It goes up this canyon, and Johnson's on the south of that canyon, and it goes all the way over towards Wichipeg and hits the Trinity River, and then Klamath comes over, and then you have the national park nearby. So that's a lot of wild area.
Yeah.
So that is a pretty cool place.
it's BLM land, wilderness area, all in that whole area. There's very few homes, and these homes are old homesteads from 100 years ago.
Mhm.
Up there on Bald Hills Road. So Johnson, you can come in through Johnson, but what I've heard, and I've heard this, though
Mhm.
I haven't verified it, but if you go to Johnson, you won't feel safe. For whatever reason, I think the Johnson is a small community, and they don't
Yeah.
like outsiders at all. Could be wrong.
I agree.
So what? You might get shot going in there or something kind of a thing.
I have been shot at on the Klamath River.
What?
I have been shot out doing calls, and it started out, I was doing calls on the Klamath River, and there was reservation out there, and doing calls, and I was with Manny. And Manny, for anybody that's met Manny, knows Manny, but Hispanic dude, very he's really, really active, and he loves Bigfoot, anything Sasquatch related. Carries 245s, just that kind of dude. He's a good dude. He was a good dude. He passed away several years ago. Anyway, I'm up on the Klamath River. I'm on, I think, Miller Rum. No, what's the logging company up there, Robert?
I don't know the garbage.
No, the logging company. It's Miller Realm or the other big one. Anyway, it belonged there. It was their land. Whatever, I can't remember. But I had the gate pass to get through there, so I would get through there, or I knew the times that it was open, because there were some homes back there. I'm way back up there in the river, in an area that probably shouldn't be, and I'm doing calls with Manny. And we shoot off the call, and then we hear a whistle back. It sounded like a human to me, and it was more than likely a human. Do another call, another whistle, another call, bam.
Oh my God.
And Manny's eyes get as big as silver dollars, right? I go, Manny, just keep down. Don't turn on your lights. Let's get out of here. Let's just get out of here. And so he starts driving because I'm riding with him in his truck. And we go down the driveway where this guy is at.
Oh no.
By mistake. And Manny's eyes now are almost falling out of his head because they're so big. And I'm laughing because it's just, this is funny, but it's a little scary. But it's, this guy's shooting because he's either thinks it's a Sasquatch or he knows people are just screwing with, who knows. But that was an interesting evening.
Did you talk to the guy or no?
Hell no. We definitely got out of there. We definitely got out of there. This is some backcountry stuff, man. This is
It's like Deliverance type thing.
Tennessee ain't got shit. I'll tell you that right now. But yeah, and so back to the calls that I think that work the best is the Ohio Howl.
Yeah,
The angry
I like
gorilla.
that.
Yeah, and the angry gorilla will get things moving around you. That's my experience. But I don't think I've ever got and I can tell you this without a doubt, that I've never got a return call that I would associate with the Sasquatch with the angry gorilla. But get everything else. If you're bored, turn on the angry gorilla because it just awakens the world to me.
Man, I gotta get down there. I gotta get down to my area and try that here in Florida and see what happens.
Yeah, and I think you can download the file, or I can send you one if you want.
Oh yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
another weird call is the crying baby call, where it starts out just barely crying.
That's right.
Then it breaks.
I was trying to remember that last call, and it's the gorilla with the crying baby, right?
Yeah, it's got the baby crying. It just
gets
more obnoxious. It's a human baby. It's a human baby that starts out.
You know what? I've never used that. You know why? And this goes way back, Tate. I don't know if you know him, Beckjord.
Eric Beckjord, yeah.
Okay.
Eric Beckjord.
Yeah, I heard of him.
He used it. That's the only call that he'd ever used is the crying baby.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
And he would write me over and over and over and over and try to call and all about the human baby.
That's
and I kind of like the guy. He was just he was an odd guy, big Swede, big Nord, 6'8" probably, just a big guy.
Crap.
Huge guy. And so that brings up to something else, which is kind of on the fringe. Eric Beckjord would always draw circles around images, and any picture that anybody would ever send him, he would first of all draw all these circles and remind you of how many Bigfoots you missed. And and these are, who knows where his mind was at. But he was always in the camp of, it's a spiritual or a shape-shifting entity, could be an alien, whatever.
But he was kind of woo then.
Yeah, kind of woo. But then you got to stop and think for a minute. Have we caught a body? Are we any closer than what we were 30 years ago?
Nope.
So what happens if he's right about it?
Yeah.
You never know.
It's strange.
You never know. I mean, now I'm not in that camp for all the haters that are gonna, what the hell are you talking about, blah blah blah.
Right.
All I'm saying is from some of the reports I've seen or heard of people describing, including Bart, describing as it swimming across the gravel road in front of him, to people saying that as it's going up a hill, it's scary, creepy of how quick and fluid they are as they're moving. And some of the things that happened down in Oklahoma and they're, the big project down there.
Oh, the Area X guys.
Yeah, the Area X. There's some stories out of there, whether they're, who knows? I don't know.
Kathy
but
Strain had some weird stories from there.
yeah. But who knows if that's true or not. So if those things are true, like they explain how it happened, it would be easy. If Eric Bixwood was alive, he'd definitely take it and run with it.
Oh yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean but that's not saying anything because he'd run with anything. But but I mean, really, what I'm saying is we haven't got any closer. We haven't got any closer at all. There's the Bluff Creek. There's the Bluff Creek, the Patterson Gimlin film, and like always, there's people claiming this, there's people claiming that, right?
Right.
There is some inconsistencies, or not inconsistencies, but concerns that I have, along with a lot of people about it. I'm not saying that it's phony. I wasn't there. And if it was mocked up, I would hope that Bob would come clean before he passed. I would hope that, if there was anything. And I'm not saying there was or wasn't or anything like that.
But if there was, hypothetically.
Yeah. I would hope that he would man up like the person that I believe he is. And
Unless he was hoaxed too. I mean, that could be a possibility.
could very well be. The things in his favor is he spent all this time down there for 2 weeks running around, and he worked at his ranch or whatever he did. And he got, what he got out of the film was a cup of coffee and $1.
Yeah, it wasn't anything.
It was $1
And
from Renee DeHinden. It was $1 from him and the rights and a cup of coffee. That's all he got. Talking to him, he says, I didn't go to Sacramento to present the film. That was Bob and some other Bob, Robert.
It was Roger, and then
Roger. Yeah, it was Roger.
Roger paid somebody to be Bob or something like that.
Yeah. And that's what Bob claims. And I don't know. I mean, I was more interested in the film and what they were saying and the questions being asked than looking at who was saying it. It's just where I was at 12 or 13 years old. And so I don't know. I know I went to that, and I know I saw the film. That's all I can tell you.
So as we wind down here in this hour, do you actually met Roger, or you saw the film with Roger in person?
I saw the film. Yeah, I did. I actually met Roger at so they were doing a I guess university or college to college showing of this film, and they would pay the university X amount of dollars for the stadium, and they collect the tickets. And I remember it cost some money to go in. I don't remember it being asked. I didn't pay for it though, but I remember my parents telling me, hey, you want to go see this Bigfoot? They claim they have the film, and oh, hell yeah, I'm all in.
Oh yeah.
Myself and my sister went. And I remember Bob Gimlin and Roger Patterson are two guys up there on the stage talking about this film, how they got it. And I remember it. The female, the breast came out, and everybody was chuckling in the audience, including myself, right? But I mean, listen, walking out of there was no doubt on my parents or myself at my young age of that being a hoax.
Really?
Yeah, there was, I mean, that didn't even come to question. Wasn't even talked about. What was talked about is that this thing is actually out there and it's living, and wow, how did we miss it, and all this.
Yeah.
So, but as far as being a hoax, no, that was never brought up. Absolutely not. And I don't remember ever hearing that in my whole life. I never remember hearing, oh, that's a hoax, it's bullshit and all that. So, but who knows? I wasn't there.
Yeah.
Bob supposedly was there. Those were, I think, your uncle.
My
Your uncle's horses.
Bob Hieronymus, my uncle's horses.
Yeah, your uncle, your dad, I think. Your uncle, dad, or whatever. I don't know.
I haven't seen him in a long time.
Yeah, he took off. He's still a little child support, I bet.
Yeah.
Anyway, but even was that?
Oh, I don't want to interrupt you, but I know we have a time thing. There's one more thing I'd like you to at least touch upon. And you spent a lot of your career doing investigative work and basically reading people's. You want to chat a little bit about that in interview practices, by reading people's emotions? So we're talking about maybe people aren't being as sincere as you want them to be, but you have spending a lot of time studying people and watching them. And
and I teach it. I've taught it the whole West Coast. I've taught it on the whole West Coast to other police departments and law enforcement and other organizations. But anyway, back in whenever, I had gone to a FBI class on interrogation and investigation interrogation, and the majority of it revolves around detecting deception.
Mm-hmm.
And I took that and ran with it. Was, believe it or not, it was Agent Reed. You've heard of the Reed technique, right?
No, refresh my memory on that one.
The Reed the Reed technique for investigation and interrogation. It's
something
one of those. Yeah, it's a pretty popular technique for law enforcement. If you have the opportunity to go to it, it's usually by Reed. But anyway, the class I went to had Agent Reed there that was teaching it. Very interesting, and I took that and ran with it. I went out, and that week I did 5 interviews and I got 5 confessions. It was like, wow, how did I miss it? And there's always that hicky feeling that you get, but you can't explain what that feeling is. So the detection of lies or deception is when people are being, and everybody will lie. Everybody lies about they only spent $20 when they spent $50, and things like that. Just call it white lies, whatever you want to call it. Everybody does, and it depends on the emotional attachment you have to that lie is how you're going to react. So if I question you in regards to, did you put your right leg or your left leg in your pants this morning first? And everybody has a habit. They put one or the other. That's just the way it is. But if you lie to me about that, I'm probably not going to see it because the emotional attachment just isn't there, right? Or it's there, but not much. Now, if a murderer put his left or right leg, or they have it on video down, whatever the reason may be, and the consequences are more, it's going to, that person, he or she is going to display those cues, those cues that I'm looking for, those clusters. And the clusters are when your anxiety builds up, right, in a lie, builds up, and you have to get rid of that. You have to get rid of that anxiety. And that is through your lower torso mostly. And it's by visual eye cues, lower towards muscle mass movement, your breathing, all this different stuff. Polygraph uses breathing, perspiration, and heartbeat, and blood pressure. And that's just because your anxiety builds up. Of course, all those other things go along with it. What I look at is the body and how they're doing, and visual IQs, all the way from visual IQs. One thing is up and to the right is usually recall, not always. Down to the left is internal dialogue. Up and to the right is recall. That would be associated with what is your next door's neighbor's front door? What is the color of it? That's going to be a recall more than likely. And in that question, if they look down to the left for internal dialogue, why are they pulling out internal dialogue? Internal is something that you build internally, right? Recall is something that you pull out of your memory. So those kind of things is what I look for, and I teach people to look for. And it's more in depth than that. But I just want to caution people, even what I'm telling you here is pretty much everything I know. Even though what I'm telling you here, don't go out and accuse your husband, wife, or whatever on one particular thing. Clusters is what you want to look for. Always associate 2, 3 different things. But there's different ways people move, different way they look, they answer you. How they'll hide behind children. If you remember the chili in the finger caper 10, 15 years ago, and the news reporter was interviewing her, and the jig was up. It was down in San Jose. Why would somebody accuse you of putting a finger? And she grabs your kid, puts your kid in front of her as a block, and looking down the left is classic. Why would anybody? That's the stupidest question I've ever heard. She's looking down the left, looking down the left. Now I'm upset and kind of like reversing it, trying to throw off whatever it is. And everybody's ran into that through business transactions or from spouses, from kids. When a kid comes home from school and how was your day? And the kid go, oh, great, it's great. Or it was okay. And looking down at the floor, something's going on, right? Natural instinct would say, wait a minute, what do you mean it's okay or whatever? While they're looking down at the floor, hiding their face. Hiding their face is a good example. They don't want to see you. They don't want to present any more cues of their anxiety. They don't want to see your disbelief in your face going, what? You know, kind of that kind of thing. So anyway, it served me well. It hasn't served other people very well, but it's served me well. And like I said, I teach people. Funny story, I was going through the Canadian border, and I might have told Robert this, but I was going through the Canadian border, and I had on my truck, "You lied," ULIED. And of course, everything up there, it's a political statement, he's a terrorist, but blah, 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 whatever. And so they asked me to step out there searching. They bring me in. They ask me all these questions. I'm saying, yeah, that you lied it's just because of what I do. I mean, I teach people how to determine fact from fiction. And I was there for about an hour teaching 30 Royal Mounted Police border crossing how to determine, because they said, yeah, we're put out here. Nobody tells us anything. We've only got 15 seconds to determine. I said, here, let me show you how. So they still in contact with me.
Oh, wow.
And so, yeah, pretty interesting. And it's interesting that they were never trained, but truth be told, that there's a shitload of peace officers, investigators that don't know anything about it. Not Moneymaker. Not Moneymaker on mysterious encounters or finding, I think it was finding Bigfoot. Yeah, well, you know, when a person lies, it's the fact that they'll do this, they'll do that. And I'm thinking, oh my God. Where did he read that?
Wikipedia.
Yeah. Yeah, they'll contradict them. What? You know, it's just kind of like, you know, don't take one thing and don't look up on the internet, figure it out, and then all of a sudden you're an expert.
Yeah.
I've done well over 1,000 investigation interrogations.
Yeah, you
Well
see,
over.
you're in the know.
I know when somebody is not telling me the truth. They say, I've been asked, well, why would you, or could you lie if you were ever a subject of an investigation? I said, yeah, I could, but I'll get caught too if the investigators did. They know what to look for. Just because I know I have this knowledge doesn't make me exempt of passing their
Their own test.
the acid test on me as far as interviewing me. I will have the same. It might be a little bit more subdued, but it will come out. The same action of internal and external, or we call it internal, and the clusters that come forward with deception.
Dang.
So there you go.
And the last thing I want to ask you on that is, what is the difference between a lie detector test and what you just described?
A lie detector test goes bing. That's the difference. Listen, I have a friend that does CVSA. That's a computer voice stress analysis. That supposedly tells when you're lying, and you know what? It does. But to only a small fraction. That's why it's not admitted in court either. Same with polygraphs. The big thing, and he would laugh, he says, all I need is a box with lights on them and just light it up. I don't know how much time. I can tell you one real funny one that I did. It was a burglary suspect. And I said, would there be any reason she stole checks and credit cards, I think. Checks for sure. Would there be any reason why one of these canceled checks from a store from over in Vallejo would have we would have you on video cashing? Oh no, it shouldn't be, which is kind of not the right thing to say. And I said, would there be any reason why these checks would have your fingerprints on? Well, I don't think so. Now, I know her story's going downhill in a big hurry, right?
Yeah.
But so I have reader glasses, right? So I said, give me your hand. So she gives me her hand. And I grab her hand and I'm looking at her fingerprints. Just so you know, I'm not a fingerprint expert. I could give a shit about fingerprints. And I'm looking at the fingerprints and I'm looking, and I go, we got to talk. And right away she tells me that everything had happened. She tells me, oh yeah, I did it. And that was just one thing, that the ruses that you use, that we just used. I mean, that was one kind of funny one. But she admitted to it, even wrote a I'm sorry letter to the victims. And the victims didn't want to prosecute after that. So hey,
wow,
it served her well.
That's pretty cool.
Well,
yeah.
It's too bad we always run out of time in these things. That when the subject gets warm, there's a lot of questions we want to ask, but we're probably gonna have to call it. But we want to thank you very much for participating and getting on here at such a last minute notice. And
no
especially
worries.
And thanks for putting up a tape.
Yeah, well, thanks for having me on. And then once again, before I say adios, when somebody tells you back to Bigfoot reports and stuff, when somebody find out what the motive is it notoriety? Is it money? Or is it a misidentification? Or is it real? Once you sort that out, try to get it down to at least two categories and go from there. Don't waste your time on people that are jerking you around and their story.
Yeah.
Too much detail, big red flag.
Oh yeah, too much. Yep, I agree.
Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah, but before I let you go, before we end this, you guys can stay for a minute so we can talk just after. But yeah, thank you for coming on, John. Robert,
thanks,
thank you for setting this up. Good stuff.
No, well, thank you very much for having me. I appreciate it. Appreciate the offer. Like Robert said, we've known and been friends for a long, long time. I think I got you on TV the first time too, didn't I?
You did. You got me on a news station out of San Jose,
That's
Was
and
it? Oh, it
that was
was.
an interesting
Yeah.
experience.
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
San Jose, but then it was after that. It was that place out of New York, Spooky Stories or something like that. Remember?
Oh yeah,
They're the one. I think those
yes,
were.
I
That
tell
was.
that.
Go ahead.
Yeah, it was real spooky stories. I tell that story because I got a cease and desist because I wrote an article because you guys came to visit the park and you
Yeah.
guys were investigating the river trail. I tell the story. So
You got a cease and
so I get
desist from who?
from from my supervisor, stop using state time and money to go look for Bigfoot, and stop interviewing these people and stuff. So I get the cease and desist, and then until he gets to see the article I wrote, that's how I got into the BFRO through Matt Moneymaker. So anyhow, so they see the article and everything's okay now. And I think 9 months later, you set me up for real scary stories. So I drove a state unit all the way down to Crescent City.
Yeah.
And that's where I got to meet you before he passed away, the gentleman you were talking about.
Manny.
That's where I first met him.
Yeah.
Manny.
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah.
Good
So I
guy.
show up there. My car is clean. I'm looking beautiful. I have my Stetson on. And they start asking me these questions and I can't answer them. So I'm cut. But I stand there and I watch him filling Manny. And Manny's got this cast with this hair in it. And he's holding it up. The sun is setting. It's light's beautiful. And the cameras are there. It's just like, way to go, Manny.
Yeah.
But
Manny,
thank you, I think.
Manny and probably Bobo. Bobo was the person that could work the camera the most was Bobo, and then a hot second was Manny.
Yep.
Yeah, those two were great. They were absolutely really good. But anyway,
and I have you to thank for where I am today. I was on the fence, not wanting to make any ripples, but you kind of cattle prodded me and got me to step off the fence. And here we are today. Thank you.
even with my work, it was more, what helped me was the 94 vocalizations being brought into the PD. So people that would roll their eyes always would come up to me and say, "What do you got now?" It was pretty it was different. It was remarkable. It was their interest. They shared their interest with me for sure.
Yeah, it's funny how we get to be where we are based on who we run into, huh?
And we've ran into quite a few different people, that's for sure.
If you run into a wall, you might not make it very far in life.
No.
Yeah, you just take 2 steps to the side, go around the wall, and do it again.
Well, I mean, it depends on how hard you hit the wall. You might not remember you did it.
Well, or you remember you did it, and next time you won't hit it as hard, maybe.
Remember where it was. But those are all out the door. At my age, everything's out the door. Never trust the fart.
Yeah, I hear you.
Never go past the bathroom. Yeah, those kind of things.
Yeah.
Well, on that note, I guess we'll end it. And thank you again, John, for doing this. And thank you, Robert, for getting this all set up.
All right, man. Thanks again for having me. I appreciate it.
All right. See you, John.
You're quite welcome.
Okay.
All right.